and listeners, welcome back to Bubble Popped episode 2. So today's topic is, drum roll please, women roles in the Harry Potter universe. So again, we will just be introducing ourselves so all our new listeners can know who we are. My name is Tharani and my pronouns are she, her.
My name is Ankita and my pronouns are also she, her.
My name is Nithya, and I also go by she, her pronouns.
And my name is Yeshna, and I also go by she and her. So a little disclaimer about our podcast is that we don't support JKR or any of her past statements. And if we do reference JKR in our podcast, it strictly is of her as an author, and that everything that we say in our podcast is just our opinions.
And also, before we begin, we would like to honor the late beloved Helen McCroy, who portrayed Narcissa Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies. She was such a strong female character in the Harry Potter series who gave her entire heart to her family to save them. And quite frankly, she was the person who saved Harry Potter at the end. So without her, Harry Potter, the whole wizarding world would have crumbled. So we really wanted to highlight Narcissa Malfoy for her strong female role in the movie, and also honor Helen McCroy for her amazing portrayal of the character.
So, starting off with our episode, as we all know, there's the Golden Trio, which is Harry, Ron, and Hermione. And this all started in the first book when little Hermione comes into their trolley train and asks, "Has they seen a frog?" And Harry's and Ron's first impression is, "Who's this girl? Why is she so annoying, so bratty?" None of them liked her. But as the story continues on, we see that she was a huge help with their adventures and everything. She truly, without Hermione, if they never became friends with her, if they never
They wouldn't
accepted
have
her
done
help,
anything. They couldn't have
exactly, if they never
couldn't do
accepted
anything.
her help, there
It
would
would've
be
gotten
no
nowhere.
wizarding world.
Yeah, it would have crumbled in the first second
30
that
seconds.
Harry stepped into the Hogwarts campus.
Exactly. Harry was just a train wreck to begin. Hermione railed it back.
Yup. Yeah. So Hermione was obviously, like Thurney said, such a strong character. But however, in the books, she was not portrayed as someone who is as important as we see her as. For example, like she was seen as like Harry and Ron's, like not Ron's, but like Harry's like sidekick, and it was kind of just like her on the sidelines just helping out, but really she was the real hero in a lot of the situations where they showed Harry as the only hero. And so we could give example, there's so many examples in the books of this, like for example in the first movie, like the trio just like never existed, and until like the end of the book, Ron and Hermione saw her as someone who was weak and someone who like was always like crying and like wasn't able to handle these stressful situations, but really like she was the one who was able to help them get through that situation at the end with the Sorcerer's Stone. She was the one who researched, she's the one who found out how to get through the trap door and all of those different things. And Hermione was also we all know her as someone who's like smart and intelligent. She was like one of the best students in Hogwarts, and um but she was also a leader, like, but they never really showed her as someone who was like had those leadership qualities of like being brave and strong, and they just showed her as like, oh, just this like girl who's there, and she's like one of the only like female main characters, like if you say like main characters, but it kind of doesn't really show as much. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Like, adding on to what you said, how she was seen as a sidekick throughout the entire Harry Potter universe, we see this where all the female roles are placed under a man. Dumbledore was above McGonagall, Hermione was below Harry, Arthur was above Molly, James above Lily, Lucius above Narcissa, Remus above Tonks. This is a constant trend throughout. But what I like to applaud is how well of a job Emma Watson portrayed Hermione. she truly showed that feminist in Hermione, and we see this throughout, as I've said before. In Chamber of Secrets, the boys would have not gotten anywhere. They would have thought, "Oh, I can speak parcel tongue. That's cool. Let's move on."
And
But
also, okay, before I wanted to cut in that like a lot of the times when Hermione was one like researching all this information, the guys would like make fun of her for being a bookworm and like spending so much time in the library. But like at the end of the day, it was Hermione's like knowledge on all of this information that she took time to learn that really saved them at the end of the day. But it was like the fact that like Ron and Harry would like make fun of Hermione, called her like a bookworm and other things like that, just because she was spending so much time in the library. But like at the end of the day, that was what had like saved them.
And that's been like a theme that's gone through all the years. Like in the first year, Hermione was the only one who knew what to do with the devil's snare, or else they would have just been stuck there for 7 years if Hermione wasn't there. Because she's the one who's like, stop moving.
Mhm.
And then even in the very end, like in the 7th book, like 7th movie book, whichever one you want to think about, like even in the 10th, like she was reading, she just kept on reading, and they're all just like, why are you still reading? You should be going out looking for Horcruxes. And she's like, are you going to search the entire world? No, you need a clue. I'm going to read a book.
Yeah, it was Hermione's like when she read that book that she figured out more information, which kickstarted their journey.
Hermione notices the little details in life. Many of the characters, as the story proceeds, the thing that's in their mind is Voldemort's back. How do we defeat him? Right? How do we protect Hogwarts? How do we protect Harry? But what Hermione has that big idea that I need to protect my friend, and I need to protect this world that I've been introduced to. And so, with these little details, as we see in the first book and movie, when when they all are running away from Mrs. Norris and trying not to get caught by Filch, they run into Fluffy. But the little detail, what did she notice? She noticed the trapdoor that Fluffy was sitting under. What when a normal person would notice
There's those
the
things.
three
Like,
heads.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was because of that, like because Hermione noticed that, like that was what allowed them to go. So it's
Yeah,
like
and that kind of shaped her like kind of like personality, like characteristics wise, like her being able to notice these little things just kept growing and like in like the future books, and you can see that she's the one who kind of like started the successes of like the different expeditions, the different thing like fights that would happen, like that she was involved in. All those little things were because of Hermione. And kind of like what Thurney said before about how like Emma Watson kind of portrayed Hermione really well. And like Emma Watson herself is like this like in like she's a feminist. She's done so many things as like a person. Like Emma Watson is an amazing actor, but an amazing person too. Like she is an ambassador for the UN, and she gave this really like monumental speech during like I don't remember what year, but like it was like so good. She was talking about her views of feminism and how she wanted to like portray it to the world, and how she wanted women to be able to have a voice and have like the ability to stand up for themselves. And I really thought that that was such an amazing thing that she did, and she really like showed like her strength and her like ability to be that leader that she wasn't able to as like Hermione or like as like her in her past. So yeah.
and I feel like she portrayed Hermione so well because Hermione was also like a little feminist icon in Harry Potter as well. So it kind of like it like merged in so well. But I also wanted to go back to what you said about Hermione's like leadership in Harry Potter, because for example, like she was like one of the main like idea creators of Dumbledore's army. But even when they were deciding on like who should be the leader of it, they like automatically just assumed like Harry was the best fit for it, even though it was Hermione's idea, and like Hermione would have been the perfect candidate for it, but because like Harry was like the man, like the main character, like male,
He
not
had the legacy for it.
yeah, that's like they gave it to him. But like even then, like Harry would still like consult Hermione about like decisions to be made and everything. But that just shows like the lack of like the female leadership in Harry Potter itself.
Tying to what you said, how that lack of female um
Leader-
uh leadership, yeah, lack of female leadership. I think this begins with Hermione being an outcast, not to her friends, right? Not like her actually starting having that many friends when she first comes to Hogwarts, but at her birth, before she knew that she was a wizard, right? Her 11th birthday, she finds this out that she is not a normal girl. She can do magic, right? But no, her parents are muggles. They don't they aren't wizards and witches. She's the only one in her bloodline. And again, as we see in the first Wizarding War, the reason for this was to eradicate these muggle borns, and Hermione was one of them. So that initially made her an outcast, because this ideology of a pure blood, it being superior, this is what makes her an outcast, and that's another thing that keeps pushing her role back.
Yeah. So
I think that that Hermione's like social awareness in the magical world was a lot from her muggle past, because she always wanted to fit in, so she's always reading the newspaper, she's always talking to others, she's like, I'm trying to like make friends. And even though she got called out for it, like, why are you reading so much, and like in fact I'm pretty sure that Ron and Harry found out most of the stuff that was happening because of Hermione. She's like, "Did you see the newspaper today?" Because normally they're not the ones who are looking for it, other than like Quidditch or sports. They didn't really look at newspapers, and Hermione's the one who told them that, "Hey, you have to look at this." And even in like the Yule Ball, like when she went with Crumb, and like Ron got so mad at her because he's like, you're like fraternizing with the enemy, and she's like, I'm trying to make friends because I'm new in this world, I'm trying to make a place for myself. But that's not how everyone saw it. They saw her as like bossy, as someone trying to be better than everyone else.
yeah.
And I think that's something that like Hermione's character should have been like that's something I think should have been portrayed better, that Hermione was just trying to fit in.
Yeah. So it's like kind of like her like muggle, like because she was like muggle born, she kind of used that in like a strength kind of way. So she used that her being an outcast as like a strength to push her to be like a better person and like be that like person who's like better than everyone else. And she kind of used that like weakness that she had, that wasn't really like a weakness, it was just the fact that she was a muggle born, and she was able to succeed in Hogwarts, succeed in all of these like different things we talked about. So yeah.
And then also one thing, again, I think many young girls at an age, they hear this statement that it's okay to cry. You're a girl. But if a boy cries, they say you can't cry. Only girls can cry. Hermione does a good job in breaking this stereotype, as we see in Order of the Phoenix, after Cedric has died in the Triwizard Tournament and Harry and Cho kiss, right? In a room of requirement, Cho starts to cry. And when Harry's telling this to his friends, because of course you tell, right? Like, hey, I just kissed my crush that I've been pining over, right? And Harry says she was crying, right? What Ron's ideology is like, you must have been terrible. No, you're a bad kisser, right? And Hermione, being a girl, she's like, "Are you stupid?" Right? And
Cedric just died.
she says this one line that I love, right? She's like, it's not her fault that you have the emotional range of a teaspoon, right? that breaks that gender stereotype that both men and women can feel sensitive. You can both feel strong. You can both feel sadness. Because especially Goblet of Fire was this breaking point. This is that realization that war is starting, right? And
It's
so
like when everything started getting a little darker. Like
exactly.
even in the movies, like in the first movie, like the lighting,
It's all
everything was
warm and nice.
bright. And then like if you look at the seventh movie though, like everything's dark. Like it's like all dark faces, dark in Hogwarts. Yeah. It's like everything just like started changing in after Goblet of Fire.
Mm-hmm. And Hermione said, it's okay to cry. You need to stop defining each other by like what you're not and start defining who you are. You know, each person knows who they are, and you want to be true to it.
So
Okay.
like now moving so now we know like all of these different characters are like we're talking about like Hermione and Cho. So we were talking about how like they see like crying as a weakness, but really it's just like an emotion. Like everyone's feeling them and everyone like literally emotions you can't control them. Like literally you can't undermine women because they have emotions. Like that's just stupid first of all. Like you should have the ability to feel sad without getting like made fun of or like
Yeah.
being it's just not right. Like you
Especially
have to be
yeah,
able to
especially in Harry Potter, like a lot of the times, like well before we say anything, like it's we completely understand that it's okay for boys and girls to cry, like that is a stereotype that needs to be broken, that like only women are emotional, but that was a very big stereotype in Harry Potter itself. And every time one of the girls, especially Cho, would start crying or show any ounce of like sadness for everything that she was going through, Harry and Ron would make fun of her, and like especially in after Goblet of Fire, after Cedric dies, Cho is going through so much, and every time she's at her breaking point, um, Harry and Ron like always like they're like women, like they're always so emotional. But first of all,
Why
that's
are
not a
you
good
crying?
stereotype to say that all women are emotional. Like that's
Exactly.
not something
Like
that's like
so dumb. Like
I
it's
feel
yeah,
like even in the real life, because this is our audience is young girls, especially. So I think like, oh, when a girl's crying, right?
yeah,
They'll say it's that time of the month.
yeah,
No,
You can cry whenever you
anyone
want.
can cry
yeah.
at any moment,
Mhm.
right? Hermione, when she was a first year, right? I think this was after Charms class, right? After they learned how to
Ron
do Wingardium
calls her like
Leviosa.
this little bossy girl who has no
Exactly.
friends
And Harry and Ron are walking the courtyard, right, with
in
Seamus,
front of everyone.
and Hermione brushes past them
Mhm.
crying, right? And they're at that moment, at that exact moment, they were talking bad about her,
Mhm.
right? So, but so of course she would start crying, but they invalidated her feelings.
Yeah. And like it's just not good to invalidate, especially like Hermione in that moment, like she was going through a lot, and just like the fact that this boy, this male, was invalidating Hermione's feelings, it just makes it so much worse, and it just makes it seem that like it's our fault for being showing our emotions for everything that's going on, and it just like it's like the way that every time there a girl or woman shows emotion in the Harry Potter series, it's always implied that there's a general problem with women being emotional for any cause. But that's just something that like I noticed in all of the female characters, and it's something that should
Yeah.
yeah.
And
one
Like Hermione, like when Hermione was crying, like Harry and Ron would be like, "Why are you crying? That's unnecessary. You don't need to cry." And then like same thing happened with Harry and Cho, like after they started dating, I guess. And then like Harry like Cho was crying and Harry's like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, and he didn't think about how Cho would be feeling. He's like, just move on already. Like just
Yeah.
go ahead. You don't have to think about whatever's back there.
mhm,
And I think that's something which was kind of, how do I say that? It portrayed women weird because it's like
Yeah.
they're saying that they cry unnecessarily,
Mhm.
that they can't control themselves.
Yeah, and then also there's like the idea that like the males are the rational, like logical ones, and the women are like crazy and emotional. But like that also makes another big gender stereotype that like male characters are like just afraid of showing emotions themselves. So it causes like a really bad like gender imbalance just between all these characters in Harry Potter. And there's a specific time in Order of the Phoenix where once again Ron is talking about Cho being emotional and like overthinking everything, and he's like, Hermione, you should just write a book about women's emotions because they're so hard to deal with. Like none of us, like we can never understand them. But just like saying that just implies that like women are too emotional for men, and men are the big strong rational ones. Like they're the ones that have to keep up the fort, they can't show any emotion. And like women are like the crazy ones, they don't make, they're illogical with like they're showing their emotions. And it's just a really big gender imbalance there.
Yes, and I think in both the books and the movies, if you truly look deeply, whenever a female role, and this might, the author may have purposely done this, right? But whenever you see, if you look deeply, whenever a female role is feeling emotional, it's in the public. Everyone can see. But when a male role is feeling emotional, after Cedric died, in the tournament when Harry saw his parents, right? When Sirius dies, whenever a male role felt emotion, it was hidden, it was shielded. Draco, for example, after he had gotten the dark mark and he cursed Katie Bell, right? And Harry realizes and he follows them into the bathroom, right? And Draco's emotional. It's hidden from everyone, right? This male role, like, I need to put on a strong face.
Yeah,
And
outside and yeah.
and I think Harry breaks this a little with the amount of trauma that he's faced. And especially, I think the person who helped him realize that there is no, you need to be manly and masculine,
Yeah.
right? I think that person who breaks it is actually Luna,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Actually true. Because
Mm-hmm.
Luna was that sweet person who always like kind of knew how to console people because she had felt that same trauma. And I feel like because of that, she was able to show everyone that like emotions are what help you get through things. And like being able to let out your emotions is not something that should be like women should be able to do that and men like shouldn't. Like that's not something that's there. Like when you face a trauma, the best thing to do to get over it is to let out all your emotions. And I feel like Luna does definitely like kind of show that to Harry.
exactly. And what I love, what I truly love about Hermione and Cho, Luna, Ginny, they never conformed to society's expectations of them. Hermione, for example, she was very, very passionate about Spew, which was basically freeing the house elves, right? We see in Chamber of Secrets, we meet Dobby, this little house elf that we all love, right? And Harry frees him with a sock because he's like, he needs freedom. He saved my life. I should save his, right? And Hermione is like, this needs to happen to everyone. This thought of having a creature to care for you, to clean, to cook is not
Literally
right.
be a slave for a
Exactly.
master.
Hermione was
Yeah.
raised for Ron. Harry was also raised in the Muggle world, right? He never knew about this wizard powers. So, but Hermione especially, she was raised in this Muggle world, right? And she learned about freedom, having your freedom of speech, freedom of choice, right? Because she lived this normal childhood, but Harry didn't, because he was the boy under the staircase, right? Hermione saw Dobby and Creature, right? And she was like, this is not right. And she broke it, and she was like, I'm going to set them free, right? She rose above everyone. Who would have thought, this is my favorite thing about her, who would have thought that a muggle born, first of all, a muggle born, if we go throughout Harry, the Harry Potter universe history and we look at the Ministry of Magic, it was always a pureblood, right? Or probably a half-blood, but mostly a pureblood. Going through it, Hermione was the first Muggle-born Minister of Magic. That
That just shows
changes
her power
society.
and like
It shows
how
how much she has grown as a person, like how much she's made her standing and like made her place in like the wizarding world.
yes, as a woman and as a muggle, like it just shows her power and even like she's just inspirational even within Harry Potter as well.
And it's not just Hermione. It's like there's a lot of other characters. Like Ginny, her mother was a stay-at-home mom. Like she didn't work. Like other than Order of Phoenix. Like Molly was in Order of Phoenix, but like Ginny, she was like she was a Quidditch player. She still raised all her kids. She was able to take care of her family, and she after like Quidditch, she went into like sports news or something, right? So
Yeah.
it's like all the women, like especially the second generation, they were shown to be strong, like
And independent.
when they grew older, especially.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
they really become independent. They make their own life work for them and they make their own pathway. Yeah. And so
And that's one thing. That's it, it was beautifully that how they rose about. We don't really see that much of Cho in the movies if you've only watched the movies, as she's only shown in the fourth and fifth book, right? But Hermione, Jenny, and Luna, they're shown throughout. And Luna, I want to speak on her. As I said previously, how Luna taught Harry that it's okay to feel emotion, because I think Luna also faced a large amount of trauma like Harry has. So in the fourth book, actually, sorry, in the fifth book and movie, they're introduced to we get introduced to Luna Lovegood, and she's in the house of Ravenclaw. So, as we all know, it values learning, wisdom, and wit. But it's not just book smarts, right? Is that's the common stereotype. It's also about, can you apply yourself in real world? You know how to think. You have that intellectual wit, but also like speaking wise, this wit. That's why Gilderoy Lockhart was placed in Ravenclaw. He was clearly not book smart, but he could manipulate people extremely quickly. But Luna, she didn't manipulate anyone, but she knew how to tell someone, hey, listen to me, this is what's right. She's a perfect example of self acceptance, because in the fifth book, we see she's given the nickname Loony Lovegood, because everyone sees her as, who's this girl?
Crazy.
Crazy. Because
Like it's not just everyone, even like the people that we say is like good, like Harry,
yeah, Hermione
Ginny,
literally called
Hermione,
her.
they all call her
Yeah.
Loony Lovegood. And it's like in the end she's one of their closest friends.
She's one of the people who
So
saved the wizarding.
like then
Helped
you have to
them
think
get
about the amount of forgiveness Luna has in her, like how much strength she has. Okay, I'm gonna forgive you for undermining me behind my back all of these years.
Mhm.
And it's not just that, like she can, it's like she knows that she can show her emotions, but she can also control them when needed. Like in the Battle of Hogwarts in the beginning, everyone's just running around screaming and they have no idea what to do, and Harry's just going to be like, I'm going to go and talk to every single person to see if I can find the last like
Mhm.
Horcrux. And she's like, are you stupid? It's gone. There's no one alive
Uh-huh.
who knows about it. You need to talk to someone dead. Like Luna's the one who beat sense into Harry's mind. Like he's just running around saying, I'm self-entitled. I know what I can do. And then Luna is like, calm down. Like, listen.
exactly.
Like I think that's the true, like that's the thing that's what made the Sorting Hat put Luna in Ravenclaw, because she knew when to put intelligence above emotion. Like
Yeah.
she can balance herself. Like she had the knowledge to do that, which is a trait of Ravenclaw, to have knowledge.
Exactly. And she was outcasted. Like, I think this outcast runs throughout the female roles, right? But she was also outcasted by her own house, right? Her own friends, right? But she
Family.
didn't let it get into her mind. I think to our listeners and to us personally, right? I feel like I think this is a common experience as when you're a young kid, right? And you see, oh, I don't fit in with these people. You don't think, let me find somewhere where they will accept me. You
Normally, we just
Try to
conform to
change.
societies.
Exactly. You think
Yeah.
you need to change. And Luna didn't do that, which is one thing that I love about her.
Mhm.
She didn't let it get to her mind and she accepted that she is who she is. And she also, again, with this emotion thing. So, Harry, of course, being the boy who lived, at such a young age, he lost both his parents and he kept on losing people who he loved. So in the fourth book, he lost Cedric, a friend that was close to him, and he lost it. And before, Harry could never see the Thestrals who dragged the carriages. He thought, oh, it was done by magic. But Cedric's death, he Harry could remember it physically at a young age, right? Such a young age, around 2 years old. You don't understand this trauma that you've been through. But Harry, being 14 years old, he now understands that trauma. So this is why he sees Thestrals. Luna, she saw her mom's death. And she also saw her father losing himself. Her father, Xenophilius Lovegood, kept himself in a box. He was never open after his wife's death, which is pretty common, right? So she saw this and she knew this trauma that Harry was going through. So when Harry was like, what's going on? What? These Thestrals? Huh? Right? Luna's like, don't worry, I can see them too, right? And
And there's
You're a little
that
sweet.
one line that comes after when Luna says that I can see them too. Ron's like, oh, maybe you're crazy now too. And it's like I think that's something that was really insensitive because it Ron didn't know anything about it. Like he has no idea, and he just said it out loud without thinking that Harry just saw someone die,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden he can now see the things that are pulling the carriages.
Yeah.
What if there's a connection?
Yeah, it's just that
And
like everyone assumes like Luna to be this crazy girl, like that's like crazy, but it's like she actually is here. She's noticing these things. She's unique, she's special, and I really admire that like she didn't let all these like snarky comments like get to her and she still like stayed the person who she was because like that's what really helped them at the end.
Once again, it comes back to like the idea of like emotions are what matter. Like it's kind of like her, like because of her personality and how like sweet and kind and like brave Luna was, it kind of showed throughout, like from the fifth to the all the way to the seventh book. And like because she was able to portray this like emotion, and because she was able to see the show it to everyone, she was able to make this like impact on the people. And she kind of showed Harry like why she was able to get through the fact that she was being made fun of and why she was like being seen as crazy. Like she just never, like that never just like crossed her mind. She just like pretended it just didn't exist. She just ignored it. And yeah.
he also gave Harry, so Harry in the first book, he sees the Mirror of Erised where he sees his parents. And of course that he's just like, what? This is the first time that Harry ever sees his parents. He lost his parents at such a young age and he was living with his mom's sister. And not once he ever saw a picture of them. And when he sees them in this mirror, he's like, what? But Dumbledore broke this thought that he could be reunited. But Luna gave back this hope. Luna said, "You will reunite with the dead, and you will reunite with the dead. This is why
you'll
these
see them
Thestrals
again.
are there, right? This is why This is why you see these things. Right? You see the good and the bad." And she gives so it lets Harry step into this new mindset that the dead are not gone forever because Harry tells Luna, "I saw my parents. I saw my parents in the maze." No one would believe him, but Luna did because she knows that they are still there. They are truly never gone. The people who love you truly never leave. And I think Sirius said this. Um, and she lets him know it's okay to cry. Again, going back to this emotion thing, because that's a huge, huge, and when I say huge, I say enormous theme throughout the entire series. And she says, it's okay, death is normal, right? Because Harry's mind never accepted it until he saw Cedric, because Cedric died right in front of him to the person that killed his parents. Sorry. Peter killed his parents, but like, you know what I mean? Voldemort was right there and everything. So it was Luna was like, it's okay with this sweetness in her, this goodness in her, and he was able to cope with everything, and because of the death of his loved ones. And Luna sees the beauty in everything. I think the author does this purposely with her outfits.
Yeah, that's so true.
So we see this, right? Everyone wears the basic robes and everything. And in the Quidditch games, they'll wear their house clothes and everything, right? And I think this is in Half-Blood Prince. What Luna does, right? She doesn't decide, oh, I'm just going to wear a Gryffindor jersey. No.
It's all
She
out.
made
An
this
entire
She goes like
lion
all
head,
out.
lion
It's so
head.
like
And to
I know.
support her friends, like that just shows like her personality and her like love towards all of her friends.
just like her
Exactly.
creativity.
And then Harry, when they see Luna in this outfit, right? Of course, if you see someone with a fake lion head on top, you just be like, "What's wrong with this person? Do I need to call help?" Right? Luna doesn't let
Harry
this
was
get
like,
to her. She's like, "I am me, and that's it. That's what I love." Right?
Yeah.
One question that I think we all need to think about is, why did Luna never care? Because as a normal girl, right, you will be thinking, oh, am I not okay? Right? Why don't they like me? But why did Luna never let this
I
get to her?
I kind of think it's because of like the idea that she saw everyone as different, and she saw like that she was unique and that everyone else is unique, and she said because of all of these like we're all different. Like that's what was going on in her head. So it's like we all have these like different things about us that other people don't have, and for her it's her like personality, and it's what she's like, her like outfits, the way she talks, the way she like consoles with people, the way she like interacts. It's like all these different things
understands.
why she sees it.
Yeah. And one
Or
thing I wanted
could
to
also be the trauma she's
Mhm.
faced.
Yeah, that's the main one too.
We see her, she sees, again, as I've said this previously, she saw her mother die, right?
Yeah,
Right
that's
in front of her eyes. That's why she could see the Thestrals. And then she saw her father slowly
Like
leaving
like
her.
become insane, really. Like everyone thought of like her father as like some insane person. Like their
Exactly.
Quibbler wasn't seen as a good magazine, it was seen as a joke.
Yeah.
And but like going back to the Thestrals though, like I think Luna was like the only person that was shown in the books to actually see the Thestrals as something very beautiful. Like everyone was scared of them. They're like, you only see them when you see someone die. And
Yeah.
instead, Luna is like, they're beautiful in their own sad way. So it's like I think that's something that like represents Luna's personality. She's always looking for that silver lining. Like compared to everyone else, they're like, oh, we're all doomed. We're all gonna die. And like
Yeah,
she's just like, there's always a way.
I think that Thestrals were a symbol of hope. But here's now one thing that I'm thinking of, right? So, as you see in Order of the Phoenix, right, they can't use the Flu Network to get to the Ministry of Magic, right, to save Sirius. So Luna says, hey, we can fly there, right, with the Thestrals. Again, we're bringing up the Thestrals. Only Harry and Luna could see the Thestrals. But
How did everyone get on
How
this?
did everyone get on them?
exactly, we see that Hermione's on one, Ginny's on one, Neville's on one, Ron's on one, but only two people in Dumbledore's army can see the Thestrals.
Maybe
So I
they
think
just kind of like directed them to like how it was.
Probably.
And then they
but
would
then wouldn't they be so confused? Wouldn't they be just flying in
yeah, I mean
midair?
like they're wizards, so I kind of think
No,
that
but it doesn't. But that's like levitation. There's no
yeah.
incantation.
Yeah.
But there is. Remember in the last movie, like Voldemort's like levitating in the air.
Well, that's
There's
Voldemort. So like,
Well, yeah, that's Voldemort again. He has his robes and everything.
yeah. So
Right?
but they're just
Who
literally
knows?
like
They're in midair. Well,
in the air.
you
Oh, and
know, I
also-
think
Wait, oh, I wanted to. One thing I think, like when Harry starts to back up Luna, that's when Ron and Hermione they sort of like realize, oh, maybe Luna's right. But without that male solidification, like that male like justification behind Luna, like they still looked at Luna as if like she was crazy. Like I'm sure if Harry had not backed up Luna, like when she suggested to go flying on the Dust World, like the rest of Dumbledore's army would have thought it was such a crazy idea and would have been like, that's not going to work. But because Harry, this male character backed up Luna, which was a female character, like that was why like the rest of the army like trusted them. But it was because of that male backing, which is kind of sad to think about, because at the end of the day, Luna's like reasoning was correct and like she was right in her own way, but she just needed that male like support to actually get her voice out in the world.
Not
that justification, and that's also seen in Deathly Hallows Part 2, right? Or Deathly Hallows if we're referring to the book. When Harry comes in, right, he sees Hogwarts and they're all gathered, and he says, the last Horcrux, it's in Hogwarts, right? It has something to do with Ravenclaw, right? No one thinks of the diadem, right? But Luna's like, well, there's the last item of Ravenclaw, right? That little soft voice. I
love
love
your imitation of
Ivana.
it.
And then like
voice.
immediately everyone else is like, you're being stupid. No one's seen that in
Cho.
decades.
Cho, her own friend Cho's like, but Luna, that's not possible. It's not being seen, right? And then again, going back, like you need to speak to someone dead, of course, and all this, right? So that male justification, and I like to think this is my opinion. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, which is of course what this podcast is about. Everyone has their own perspective, right? I like to think that Harry was a feminist and James Potter also was a feminist. That's a opinion that I will stand by, okay? Because I think especially after he became friends with Luna, right? And he started defending her. He was like, yeah, women.
But also the thing is we have to think about is like I don't think at first he was.
Yeah,
Definitely not at first, but like once he started meeting like Hermione, once he started meeting like Luna, he saw the strength in these people and he was like, wait, honestly, like they're better than me. Like, what is this? Like this
They've
is
literally been the ones who've saved me 500 times. Like without them, I would be.
I think I should be supporting them if they're saving me so many times. Like, obviously, that's probably one of the main reasons why Harry was the one who's backing up like Luna and Hermione the most, because and asking them for help first before asking like Ron or anyone else is because he like trusted them more. He saw the strength and he saw the like bravery more in them than he did honestly in like the other guys.
And also, maybe some people have noticed this, and maybe this was an accident in filming, but in the first movie, when we're introduced to nearly headless Nick, Hermione is like, nearly headless? How can you be nearly
headless?
Exactly. And he pulls off, right? Little Daniel Radcliffe, right? Portraying Harry Potter. He's sitting next to her. She's saying this, and he rolls his eyes. He's like, oh my God. If you look closely, he does this. And that also shows like he's like, oh my God, who is this girl? What have I gotten into?
No, but it's not just that. It's like I don't think it was completely Harry's fault that he thought of it like that. Like it's like there's this little part of me. You may disagree with me, but there's this little part of me that blames Dumbledore for that.
Oh, 100%.
He's the one who's always like, I'm gonna give you 60 points for doing this. When he gave others like 50, like he always favored Harry. He always said that Harry's the one who did it. When in fact, it was Hermione or it was Luna or someone else who did it for him. And I think that made Harry like feel like that made Harry think that the women weren't as important until he heard the prophecy in the 5th year when he's like, oh, it's my mom who saved me. I probably shouldn't have even lived.
Exactly. And then also, he likes Gryffindor. I think this is a common agreement that no one likes Dumbledore. Okay.
No.
Dumbledore put him into this mess.
Honestly,
Okay.
yeah, that's so true.
And I think also I think it's in part 1, when they're looking for Regulus's locket, right? Yeah. They're in this tent and everything, and they found Regulus locket. They're learning how to destroy it, and Ron says, "Did Dumbledore not give you any instructions?" Okay,
he literally just said, go find a Horcrux and destroy it. He didn't tell him means. He didn't give him any of the 5 W's. Nothing.
He said, "Do it," and I'm just gonna die. Okay.
I'm just
gonna fall off this cliff. But you can figure it out yourself. It's your problem now. I'm
like,
left.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put you under the care of the person you think hated you for for your entire life. And I won't even tell you about it. I won't tell you until 5 minutes before you're gonna go standing in front of your arch nemesis saying, "Kill me." Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you anything.
And then going back to this conformity, right? How Luna never conformed. One person who also didn't conform, right, is Tonks, Nymphadora Tonks. Oh my God, how much I love her, okay, is so much, but I will not go into my love for her, because if I do, this podcast will be
never
about,
end.
Look, it'd be about 5 hours, and I don't think you guys want to hear us speak for 5 hours, but let's
the
segue
summary that Thorny's trying to say is that Tonks is one of the ultimate feminists in the Harry Potter world. Like, she is like an embodiment of the importance of feminism in Harry Potter. Yeah, it's like, because she proves that, like, hey, I may be good at my work. I may be good at my work. I'm an Auror. She's an Auror. She's a good Auror too. She works under Kingsley, and she's not the best at cooking or household skills though. She can fight really well, but she can't cook. She trips over stuff, and she's not the most elegant person there. She's not wearing hoop skirts or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's she doesn't conform to the gender stereotypes of being a girl, and she's being her own powerful woman there, and that's really important to have.
And then so we're introduced to, so as we all know, Nymphadora Tonks was again an outsider. This relates to, I think, everyone. So why is she an outsider, right? So her mother was Andromeda. I'm just gonna go a little bit, small details. We don't know too much about her family, right? But her mother was Nymphadora. Sorry, not Nymphadora. Andromeda Black, and her dad was Ted Tonks. Ted Tonks is a Muggle born, right? So again, we already know what
Andromeda is from the pure families there.
Andromeda is from the noble house of Black. The Black family was the top of the the wizarding world. They were powerful. They had all the power in the world. They were in this pure blood frenzy. I can't remember. Walburga and Orion, they were cousins, and they got married. And to keep this pure blood in it.
The family pure.
So when Andromeda is raised with her 2 other sisters, Narcissa and Bellatrix, who again marry purebloods, but Andromeda differs from this, and she's like, I'm Slytherin, right? So that Slytherin love was also in her family. She was raised with this, right? But she left this, and she was like, I'm gonna get trained under Dumbledore, while Bellatrix got trained over Tom Riddle, and she marries a Muggle-born. So think about how her parents reacted. She was outcasted. So, and this again outcasted Tonks. She was not accepted by the Black family, and then she marries a werewolf.
So she just put herself out of the social circle even more. But Tonks didn't really care about that. She's just like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do what I think is right.
Yeah.
Which is a real, that's shows her characteristic of being strong-minded. She doesn't conform to society. And that's what, makes Tonks such a special character, whether it be in the Order of Phoenix or as a woman, just as a woman in Harry Potter. Because even after like Lupin was the one who was arguing against marrying Tonks. He's like, I'm a werewolf. You're just making yourself even worse. And then she's just like, Bill and Flora are getting married. Why can't we get married? And
Exactly.
it's like Tonks did not let her opinion be stepped down upon.
Like
It's
she
like if it
protected
was
her
right,
voice.
if I think it's right, I'm not letting anyone
Yeah.
stop me.
Yeah.
And the way she showed her love is, it's so magical. We in Prisoner of Azkaban, we're introduced to a Patronus, right? So every person's Patronus is different, right? Her Patronus used to be a rabbit, a hare, but after she met Remus Lupin, it changed, and it changed into a wolf. That change, a Patronus changing, is extremely rare in the wizarding world. So when hers changes to a new thing that she loves, that's how Remus knew she's the woman.
Yeah.
The one
right?
for
She will accept him. And then also, but here's this negative thing about Tonks, right? We're talking about conforming, right? Tonks is seen as messy, right? Clumsy, right? And everything. She's just a mess,
Yeah.
right? But when she realizes that she's getting married, right?
She's
like, oh, I need to learn how to cook, right? And in Order of the Phoenix, she goes into the kitchen. It's like trying to help Molly, like, hey, let me help you. Molly Weasley, like, no. Get out of the kitchen. Get out of the kitchen before you murder someone, right?
Yeah.
And she tries to conform herself a little bit, right? And
living up to those like norms.
because she's trying to live up to that wife, that's the role of being a wife.
A bad part is that it's not wrong for her to want to be a wife, but it's also like she's not trying to change herself too much either. Like she's only trying to help and support her family, because it's like if Lupin can't cook, someone has to cook. It's not wrong. Like we can't assume anything because we don't know if Lupin could cook. But if Lupin can cook, then it would be kind of wrong for her to want to learn how to cook just because she's becoming a wife. But if Lupin can't cook, then it's justified that Tongs wanted to learn. Because if they're making a life together, someone has to make the food. Yeah. And I think another wrong thing that happened, like in the example that you said specifically, Thurney, is that Molly kicked her out of the kitchen. It's like Molly is like, you're gonna ruin everything. Like just stay away. Like she's kind of like when she said stay away from the kitchen, some people can understand it as like Molly saying you're not suited for the life of a wife. Just don't try. Yeah. And I think that's something that was kind of rude, but Tongs didn't let it like get to her, so I'm also kind of happy about that. Yeah, but like another thing that didn't change is that even after Tonks gave birth to a child, she was still in the battle. Like she was still fighting. And
she still was like, I
away.
Yeah.
Like she was still strong.
But she still had that willpower to protect the wizarding world. And even though like that choice that she made between like war and child, that's a difficult choice to make. She still like that shows like her passion for saving people and saving the wizarding world and fighting for something that she's passionate about.
Because I think lots of people think, oh, when there's a war going on, the men go and fight.
Yeah.
They go and hold down the fort. Yeah. And we see this in World War II and this
Civil War. All of these norms have definitely changed, especially in like our like modern world. But because these books, like it's obviously not like that then. Like there's always like men are the ones who are supposed to be fighting the war, women stay back, and they are the ones who like help with like keeping the village like
family
the house. Yeah.
Exactly. And a mother had to make that difficult decision. We never truly know why she made this decision. It might have been because of her huge love for Lupin, right? Or whatever. We don't know. And then another thing I want to touch on, in the Black family, the trait of being a metamorphagus is present, meaning you can change your appearance. So being as a woman, right, there's this ideology like, oh my God, you take 5 hours to do your makeup, right? Or, oh, that your body shape isn't too good. You need to have a slimmer waist, a slimmer nose, right? You need to have plump lips. There's something like that. Or, oh, you can't have body hair. Women shouldn't have body hair, right? So as we see in this women roles, right? You would think, oh, she's a metamorphosis. She can change herself. She can make herself look like the most beautiful women in the room. So all the eyes go to her. But Tonks didn't do that.
Yeah,
We see this in Order of the Phoenix visually in the movies. Tonks is changing her mouth into a duck bill.
Yeah.
And
used it to
Molly, if
represent
you look
herself.
closely in the corner, Molly's like, what the heck is going on with this woman?
Like she has purple hair and everything.
Yeah, but
I
It's
know
like does what
after
she
she
wants.
got together.
Yeah,
she's
she
just
like
using it
does
to
what she
represent herself and like who she is, and that's really nice.
She wants like everyone to see that like you can be whoever you want to, and like
You don't need
shouldn't
to
let
conform
others
to
stand-
society's standards. Like you express
Yeah, like
yourself, and that's like it's your world, so you live it how you want.
And one thing, this is personally my opinion, right? Because Tonks had made this decision that she's gonna go and fight. I don't think she truly regretted this, right? After she passed away, because she was with the person that she loved. Someone, I feel that she and Remus were made to each other if we're looking canon wise, right? Where this everything that we're talking about is canons and things that have been written. We're not using fan fiction, Wolfstar, Jilly, Jegulus, none of that stuff. If we're bringing that in, I would say Wolfstar, but we're using the books. So we're talking about Remadora. So I don't think that Tonks truly regretted it. Maybe she did a little bit because she left her child, right?
But at the end of the
But
day,
she knew that her child was going to be protected with her mother. But I don't think she truly regretted it because she was with her husband, right?
Yeah.
And we see this
She was with her true love.
exactly, and we see this
If
when
people
they
believe
died. The movies
they're
do a
uh-huh.
great job capturing this. When they're dead, their hands are still linked together.
yeah.
That's shown in the
That just
movies
shows-
too. It's not just like in the books. Like it's shown in the movies together too. Like they died together. They died protecting each other.
Exactly.
So
And I think that's a full circle. That's a full circle to Lily and James Potter, right? They also died protecting each other.
Yeah.
And that just shows like all of Harry Potter has this theme of the mother's love, and this like without Lily Potter, without this woman, Harry Potter wouldn't even be alive. Like Lily sacrificed herself. Like she had so much love for Harry, and it was that action that started this whole thing. But
if Harry died, then Voldemort would have just won in the very beginning itself, and then we wouldn't have this series.
Yeah, like
the thing we have to like realize is like in the beginning of the book you could see like when they were showing like Harry's past, when they were like showing how like she was being killed by Voldemort, or not Voldemort, sorry, Peter, and it was like you could see like she was literally like covering Harry, like you couldn't even see him in like the frame of like
Because
this
she
mother's
stood right
love.
in front of his crib.
yeah.
she had
This
so
mother's
much
love.
love and so
They
much
didn't
strength.
care if she died. She didn't care. She literally put her
She
like
just wanted her
body
child to be
blocked
safe.
him.
Like as Nithya said, this mother's love. If we hear this throughout, it was not a spell, not an incantation that protected Harry. It was the love that Lily had for him. And this goes again to our topic, female roles. Lily Potter is a female, right? She was a mother. That mother's love is what protected Harry. Okay. Then Molly comes in. Okay. Molly comes in and acts as a Narcissa Malfoy. If when Voldemort killed Harry when he was truly killing himself, right?
If Narcissa didn't
Malfoy
lie,
never lied and said, "Oh no, he's not dead. Got to kill him again. Let's go again." Right?
Again, like
If he did that,
literally,
Voldemort
every
would have
single
kept
time.
on doing it.
yeah.
until Harry was truly dead and the wizarding world would come to an end. But Narcissa Malfoy said he's alive. But she did this not in order to protect Harry, but in order to protect her son, because she knew that if Harry was alive, her son would be safe.
So this kind of comes back like all together. So like kind of bringing back the idea that all like females have these like this strong will of like they do whatever they think is like best for them, and they do what's best for everyone around them too. Like they just like want to make sure that they do what they love. They do like what is best for their community. They do what is best for like they just kind of like show this to everyone and kind of like spread their voice and their opinions, so that they show like the younger people that it's okay for you to also do this. Like you don't have to like sit in the sidelines like women like sit on the sidelines. You can also like join in and be that leader.
Yeah.
And so that,
and like all in all, like all of these are, we only highlighted a few of these female characters, but each female character in Harry Potter played such an important role, and all of them were so powerful and such an integral part of the Harry Potter series and the universe, that like without these women, like the women were like the foundation of this whole like each of Harry's actions, like who Harry was, who each character was, it's all because of these women. So at the end of the day, like women here are the real backbones of society and of a story, and like women are the powerful ones, and we are just proud that
like now as like a modernized society, we're really starting to
women are in the Harry Potter universe, they were the pillars of the society. But even here, women are the pillars of society. They help us. Without women, girls would not be alive, right? This female empowerment, this Me Too movement and everything, all this would not have done. So women, girls, everyone, female, right? You are important. You have your role in society, and don't back down.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let anyone invalidate you. It's okay.
You can take the characteristics from Luna, like embrace your uniqueness, use your willpower, use your strength, and just make an impact in the world, because us girls, like we can do it.
Yes, we can.
So just
use your voice, guys.
It's
really like powerful. Use your opinions. Let your opinions like. Don't let these like guys like take over things. Like if you want to like voice your opinion, if you want to be the leader, like do it. Like there's no harm in doing it. Like just go for it.
Yeah. So taking Harry Potter as an example, like we can say that, hey, girls have the power to save the entire universe. Just look at
if someone says, "Oh, you're a girl, you hit like a girl," say Ginny Weasley.
Yes, I am a girl, and that is why I'm 10 times better at this than you.
Exactly.
You have that power, and you can do it.
And be proud of being a girl.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that, my friends and listeners, and everyone who has listened, thank you for listening. And that is Bubble Pop.